Boom, and we have Rose from the Dead back with a YouTube video. It's been a while, so this is me after training push the other day, a little physique update to start the video. As you can see, I have no idea how to pose, but this is what I'm currently looking like. We're going to run through a full day of eating, a bit of training. Let's do it. The time for this first meal, 10 to 6, and look at this. My morning is going absolutely fantastic already. First meal of the day, we had 200 grams of fat-free Greek yogurt, 120 grams of mixed berries, 25 grams of 85% dark chocolate, accompanied with a coffee. I then went to the gym, trained a few clients in the morning, then it was time for my second meal. So I had 200 grams of chicken breast, 1 pack of rice, 1 wrap. I also had 30 grams of, it's meant to be almonds, but I forgot them, left them at home, so I went to the shop and bought some peanuts. I had 30 grams of that, just to slow the digestion down of the carbs. And I also had 1 banana, and that was the pre-workout meal. Just arrived at Warehouse Gym. Pre-workout has just gone down. That was very much needed today. Not because of energy levels from low food as such, just more from work, lack of sleep. It's quite warm at the minute. But there's no excuses. I feel okay. I feel like I'll have a good session today. Training push, training with Scott. A bit of commentary for this chest, shoulders and triceps session, aka push. I'm starting the session off with a single arm pec deck. Now I'm not doing this to be cool. I understand that modern day training now, there seems to be a modification to every exercise for sometimes and often the most ridiculous of reasons. You could argue, like doing this movement single arm, that you can fully shorten the pec or shorten it more by getting your humerus a bit further across. You could argue that you're lengthening the pec more because you're concentrating on one pec at a time. There is that argument in terms of how much more stimulus you get into the pecs. I think you're going to be talking very, very fine, small percentages that aren't worth worrying about. But the reason I'm doing it with the shoulder impingement that I get especially when I'm doing things bilateral, it makes sense to do it single arm because I can focus on stabilizing just that one shoulder joint at a time, get a good stimulus to my chest without, like I say, impinging my shoulder. So yeah, I do 2 sets there, 10 to 15 reps, and then that's kind of got that area warm, and then I go into my first press. So in terms of exercise sequence, you want to put like your muscle groups that you're working, that you want to bring up the most towards the front of the session, where you've got more energy, not just physically but mentally as well. The first exercise is this Nautilus pin loaded shoulder press. Good machine there. So I do 2 sets, 10 to 15. I'm really concentrating on just like keeping my torso upright, because if I shift my hips forward even just a few inches, it's going to turn into like an incline press or a flat press. And yes, you can move a lot more weight. Like I'm only doing the stack here for, was it 11, 12 reps, whatever it was on the first set, I think 10 on the second, if I remember rightly. If I shift my hips forward, I could easily add 20, 40 kilos to the stack. But it depends, like, are you trying to move as much weight as you can, or are you trying to target a specific area? And for me, after my diet a few years ago, it was clear for me that my weakness is my delts. So I make a real conscious effort of staying accurate with my training and making sure the tension's on my delts and not my chest. After this, I go into a single arm lateral raise. Obviously, I want to bring up my side delts. So doing this second rather than first in my sessions, I normally do a lateral raise as like a first movement. But I think if I want to get better at pressing overhead, it's better to do it first. And it's always nice kind of going into a press fresh rather than after a lateral raise now and again. Notice I use like a fat grip to hold, and the reason for that is I think that cuffs, things like that are all great in terms of connecting to the muscle better and things like that. But if you're never gripping things, guess what? Your grip is going to get weak, and that will not just affect your wrist, it'll affect your elbow, it will affect your shoulder. So it is important to grip things at least now and again. I'm going to do a video about this at some point, or include it in a video, because I think that is something that's really overlooked. After that, I go into my horizontal press, or one of the horizontal presses, which is this prime incline press. So you notice there's places that you can load the machine, whether you want to do the mid, lengthened, or in the shortened range. For me, I think it makes sense to load at least a decent portion in the lengthen range, because that's where your chest is going to be more active and recruited in that position. For me, with shoulder instability, which I speak about later on, which I don't really want to speak about too much now because I end up repeating myself, if I load it too much in the length and range, it is going to expose that shoulder instability. So I still load that range, but a lot in the mid as well. So I do 3 sets there. You'll see kind of where I load it. The amount of weight you use will depend on where you load the machine as well, and obviously when you do that movement in the session. The next horizontal press I do is this flat Nautilus press. So I've been playing around with this in terms of where I want to sit, how I kind of position my shoulder blades in terms of, should I just retract it, should I press it as well. It is something that I am trying to figure out that actually feels best for me. It does the job. It's not my favourite thing in the world, to be honest. I think it's a good machine, but for me at the minute it's not the best, but it's okay. Following that, I do 2 sets of a tricep push down, just making sure I spend a second in the short, a second in the lengthened. And then I go into this overhead tricep Nautilus machine. The reason I'm using this is just because I don't know, I just get a bit bored of using cables and dumbbells all the time. I think if you ask me what I prefer using for arm work, is definitely cables. But when you've been doing the same thing for God knows how many years, it's nice just to mix it up now and again. So that's it, 2 sets there, and that is the end of the push session. Post-workout, we've got raw weight, as always. 187 grams of beef mince. I know that sounds like a very random, weird serving size, but the beef mince comes in 750 grams packages, so a quarter of that, 187, that's what I use. Okay, 150 broccoli, 100 rice. As for sauce, I use lemon and herb peri sauce. That could be questionable to some whether it goes or not, but I'm telling you now, I taste it, it definitely goes. I mean, per 15 grams, which is a serving, 20 calories, 1.6 fat, 1.4 carb, 0.5 protein. It's pretty sound. This might not look exciting. I mean, it's not exciting, but convenience, that is what I'm saying. Convenience is there. That's all it is. Easy, convenient, macros are sound, does what I need it to do. I can't even remember the last time I uploaded a YouTube video, because the last one was like a travel vlog in Mexico. Prior to that, I cannot even remember, so I don't even know if I've shown you the new setup for my coaching. It's wicked, so maybe I'll show that in a bit. But I've got some check-ins to do now. I've got 6 to do. It's currently 10 to 5. I've still got steps to do. As for macros, about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I changed my macros to 180 protein, 60 fat, 310 carbs on both training day and rest days. And now I've changed them again. And the reason for that is just to accelerate the rate of loss, which we'll get into in a minute in terms of the time frame of the diet. But training days now, 2,400 calories made up of 180 protein, 50 fat, 307 carbs. So still above 300 carb, which is good. On a rest day, 2,300 calories, 180 protein, a little bit higher fat with 60, and then 260 carbs. You're making me laugh walking backwards. For me, when it comes to eating during a deficit, I don't have any issues with. Obviously, I get hungry. Obviously, I get tired as I get leaner, them kind of things. But the hardest thing is after the diet, when the goal isn't there. Your hormones are probably going to be all over the place if you push your diet quite far. So it's always after the diet for me that kind of, that's when I find it a bit more difficult. With this diet, within saying that, the hardest thing I'm finding is nothing to do with my cardio, nothing to do with my steps, nothing to do with me eating, is actually my training and retaining my gym performance. And I've always been good at this through a diet, kind of retaining my strength, having an appropriate rate of loss, and just doing the things that I'm meant to do to recover well between sessions. And this diet's a bit different because I'm having to work around this postural issue that I've got, that I've spent, I don't know, 2-3 years trying to sort, and it's not getting any better. So some sessions when I go into the gym, don't get me wrong, I'm not great, but I can get through the session, do what I need to do. But then some sessions I go into the gym after warming up and I'm like, how the hell am I going to get through the session? Because my shoulder, lat, upper back, hips, it's everything just feels awful and I can't get into like the right positions, especially to do presses. Some sessions I get torn between the ideas of actually doing more training volume when I don't feel too good. And that might sound weird, because when you're dieting, if anything, you actually reduce your training volume because your ability to recover is obviously less. But when I feel like I can't get a good stimulus to the targeted muscle because I can't get in, you know, the right position for a press, for example, so I'm thinking, are those 2 sets enough? Because I don't feel like I've stimulated my chest enough. So then I go onto like a fly and I'm thinking, should I do 3 sets instead of 2 to, you know, compromise for that? And then I'm thinking in my head, actually, is that a good idea? Because then I might not be recovered for the next session. So it is a funny one, because logically I know what the best thing is to do, but I can't do it because I want to train with minimal volume, recover, go into the next session, retain my performance, and just do that through the diet. This diet, I've had to like auto-regulate a lot of my training based on how I feel. So that's been the hardest thing about this, but I guess I'd like to say I'm learning from it, but I'm just kind of like dealing with what I'm dealing with. Meal 4, which is the last meal of the day. So in terms of meal frequency, it's all relative to the amount of calories that I'm on, right? So if I'm eating north of 3,000 calories, then I'd be having 5 times meals per day. Whereas when my calories are lower, like if I'm having 6 meals a day and say your calories like 2,400, that means each meal is like 400 calories, which I don't think is very beneficial at all. I think as long as you're getting like 4 protein servings per day, you don't need to have shitloads of meals per day just because some fitness influencer said so. Anyway, what we've got is some very creamy oats. There's 70 grams of oats there with 30 grams of whey, and as you can see, we've got some blueberries under there, so 100 grams. Wow, how's your steam? Protein World definitely deserve a shout out, by the way. Always keep me stocked up with their products. So the 2 main ones I use, to be fair, is creatine monohydrate, 5 grams every day. Also, of course, whey protein isolate, the vanilla ice cream flavour, usually between 30 to 40 grams per serving. Of course, if you want any discount, use my code PWBRAD, that'll get you 40% off. In terms of the time frame for the diet, about 14 weeks ago, Em said I was too fat. Ain't that right, Em?
Yeah.
To be fair, if I was in the perfect lighting, you squinted a bit, and I tensed as hard as I could to the point where I about shit myself, you could pretty much just see the top line of my upper ab. So I was pretty lean still. You said if you don't lose the body fat now,
I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what you said?
Yeah. It's getting embarrassing being out with you.
That's just how it gets. No, I was 86 kilos. And so yeah, it's been about 14 weeks dieting, and I'm 11 kilos down. But in saying that though, I was in Mexico for 2 weeks. After I got back from there, I had a week at maintenance to regain performance. So about 11 weeks dieted, down to 75, 76, bouncing between there. And current composition is okay. I'm gonna, aim to lose 5 kilos, and these next couple of weeks I'm going to aim to be a bit more aggressive before I go into like a little refeed or diet break, whatever you want to call it, probably 5 days or so, just to drop off a bit of fatigue before I finish the rest of the fat loss off. Expenditure is 10 to 12k steps every day. I don't want to have them too high just because of how time consuming it is, and I've got a lot of things to do. Cardio is currently 2 times a week on the Stairmaster, 30 minutes, 140 beats per minute, and on a Sunday I play football for 90 minutes, which is a lot more enjoyable than the Stairmaster. The last week or so, or 2 weeks, my body weight has been not completely stationary, but it has slowed down quite a lot, but then the look has got quite a bit better, and that's the main thing. So although I am trying to bring scale weight down, it is not obviously the main objective, but as a natural, when you've been training for quite a long time, I know if I want to get pretty lean, the scale weight has got to come down. So yeah, these next couple of weeks, going to be a bit more aggressive. This week, I'm filming another video, which is going to be dieting on a budget to get to single-digit body fat without spending too much money. So look out for that video this week. Like this video if you enjoyed this one. Subscribe, let me know you've watched by commenting something, and I'll see you in the next video.